Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
And today we're going to look at all the multicolored cards, all the artifacts, and all the lands in Shadows over Innistrad.
So this was the last part, and we evaluate them, and we're looking at draft or sealed, so limited.
Yeah, exactly. We use our 3-tiered method for evaluation. You've seen all the other videos, hopefully, otherwise go see those first. Go see white through green before you watch this one. And it's very simple. Tier 1. You want to play that, it's super good, it's going to win you the game. Tier 2, very good card, puts you in that color, which is going to be tricky, of course, when we're going to be looking at artifacts, for example, or lands, but let's just have a look at that. And then Tier 3, those are the cards which are nice fillers, but do not a deck make by themselves. All the other cards, we're going to put those aside. Well, let's get right into it by looking at the common cards.
So the first common is Warped Landscape. It's a land and it can tap for a colorless, and for 2, tap and sacrifice it. You can search for a basic land card and put it on the table tapped. So it's a tier 3 card because if you really need the mana fixing, then you can put it in. It taps for colorless, so that won't help you with your colors. So that's why I want to put it tier 3.
Yeah, I really like it because it comes in untapped, so right away you can just start using it, and yeah, as you said, Sam, it doesn't color fix you, but you can just use it for the colorless mana, and later on you can just wait till your opponent's end step, pay the 2 mana, tap it, then of course that basic language comes into play tap, but then your turn starts and then it untaps right away, so I think it's going to be pretty versatile.
Yeah, but you really need to have like multiple colors to actually use it.
Yeah, of course, if you're going, I think maybe even 2 colors, it's still, I don't know if it adds too much, but if you're going 3 colors, then definitely
Exactly.
add it. Next one is Explosive Apparatus. For 1 mana, it's an artifact, and for 3 mana and tapping it, we get to sacrifice this thing, and then it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. In essence, it says pay 4 mana, and you get to do 2 points of damage. I don't think that's enough. For removal. I know the removal is not that great in this set, but still 2 damage for 4 mana I think is just a little bit too expensive, so I would put it aside.
Yeah, it's just too much. So the next one, Shard of Broken Glass. 1 mana, it's artifact equipment, and equipped creature gets +1/+0, and whenever equipped creature is attacked, you may put the top 2 cards from your library into your graveyard, and equip cost of 1. So you don't really want to play it because it's +1/+0. It won't do too much because it doesn't have much toughness, and it mills you too, which may help you actually, but it's too less of an upside for me to play it, so I'll put it aside.
Yeah, I think it's garbage. Don't play it. Next one, we have True Faith Sensor. For 2 mana, it's an artifact equipment, and it states that the equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. See, this is already a little bit better because it pumps both the power and the toughness and gives a nice little ability on the side. Its equip cost is 2, and if the equipped creature is human, it gets an additional +1/+0. Okay, there's a lot of humans, so that's quite possible, but let's assume we don't. Then for 4 mana, giving creature +1/+1 and vigilance could work if you got a lot of evasion creatures or flying or creatures with big butts, and that's why we're going to say let's put it on tier 3 as a good filler should you have that. If you don't, if you just have a lot of aggressive creatures or maybe non-evasion creatures, I would say it becomes less interesting. So yeah, you're going to have to evaluate it tier 3.
Yeah, so the next one, Wicker Witch. 3 mana, artifact creature, a scarecrow, and it's a vanilla 3/1. It's still 3/1, 1 toughness, not that great. It will get killed by everything, so just put it aside.
Yeah, I already said before, I don't like creatures to have 1 toughness, and I do like my creatures to be 3/1s, but only if I get to pay 2 mana for it, and this one doesn't do that, so I'm going to say put it aside as well. Those are the commons. Let's have a look at the uncommons. For the uncommons, we're going to start with our cycle of lands. The first one, actually all these lands are the enemy colored pairs. They all come in tapped, and they give us 1 of 2 colors. First one is Foul Orchard, gives us either black or green. Then we have Woodland Stream, gives us either green or blue. We have Forsaken Sanctuary, gives us either white or black. Highland Lake gives us either blue or red. And Stone Quarry gives us either red or white. So the tiers of all these cards are tier 2, because if you are in those 2 colors, then you auto include them. And you're definitely not going to try and force a color just because you have these. So that's pretty much it.
So let's go to the equipments. It's a Neglected Heirloom. It's 1 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, And when equipped creature transforms, transform Neglected Heirloom, and it has equip cost of 1. And it transforms into Ashmouth Blade, and it gives the equipped creature +3/+3 and first strike, and equip cost of 3. So if you have transforming creatures, you might want to play it, because I think the downside of putting in your deck, it still gives a +1/+1 anyways for 2 mana.
Yeah.
So I want to put it tier 3, because +3/+3 and first strike is really good.
Yeah, I'm afraid that you're going to try and get this to work, and you're going to be trying to jump through those hoops, and in the end, it's just going to end up being an artifact that gives +1/+1 for a quick cost of 1, but that is still okay for a filler card, so you're not losing the game at that point, but I'm just not very excited about this. Unlike Skeleton Key, for 1 mana, it's an equipment. Equipped creature has Skulk, which means that it can't be blocked by creatures with power greater than them. And whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card and then discard a card. So you get to loot. The equip cost is 2. This is really good. You put this on a creature, it gets automatically Skull, which means it's going to be really hard to block, or harder to block effectively. And every time it gets through, you're looting it, which means, of course, in Limited, looting is very strong because it allows you to filter through your bad cards. The cards you don't need allows you to search for those really good cards. I would say tier 2, just put it in. I'm pretty sure you're always going to be able to find a way to make this work.
So next one, Traden Gargoyle. It's 1 mana artifact creature, it's a gargoyle. It's a 2/2 with defender, and for 6 mana you can transform it. And then it transforms into Stone Ring Antagonizer. It's a gargoyle Hoa, it's a 4/2 with flying. So that's actually really good, because it's a 1 mana 2/2 defender that can actually attack late game. So I want to put it in tier 2, because every deck can play it actually.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the game, it's an effective blocker. Right off beginning turn 1, it's going to restart bears, which is decent. And then later on, it's a 4/2, which in the air is going to trade with pretty much everything. And the fact that it's an uncommon, sure, it's going to trade with rares, but that's fine, because this is our uncommon slot. Then we have Wildfield Scarecrow for 3 mana, a 1/3 artifact creature, which is a Scarecrow.
So 1/4.
Oh, sorry, 1/4, yeah. It has Defender, and for 2 mana, we get to sacrifice this guy and then search our library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them into our hand, then shuffle our library. I like this as a filler card. Why? Because the 1/4, that's a pretty big butt for turn 3 to be able to block. It's going to be able to block those 3 2s, for example. 2 2s you can block all day. And on top of that, if after turn 3, you still haven't drawn that 4th land, then you can just sacrifice this guy, and then one of those 2 lands, you can play that right that turn. So I think it's going to be pretty versatile, but no more than a filler card.
So next one, Harvest Hand. It's 3 mana, it's a Scarecrow and a 2/2, and when he dies, you can return it onto the battlefield transformed. And then it becomes Scrounged Scythe. Equipment and target creature gets +1/+1. As long as equipped creature is a human, it has Menace and equip cost of 2. So it's a 2/2 for 3 that changes into equipment. So actually like it as a filler, because you can always play it, and when it dies, you can have value out of it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of humans as well, so there's a good chance the creature will have Menace. But if it doesn't, it's actually not too shabby if it traded with one of their bears, for example. And remember, this one doesn't have Defender, so you can just attack with it as well. So tier 3, absolutely. Next one is Haunted Cloak for 3 mana. We get an artifact equipment with equip cost of 1. And what does it do? It gives equipped creature Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. Now we've seen this effect already before in other cards. Pretty awesome. I like it as a good filler card, but only if you're going to have really big creatures that are going to be able to fully take advantage of that Trample and that Haste. And also actually that Vigilance.
Yeah, so it's a filler. So Magnifying Glass is 3 mana artifact. It can tap for Colorless, but for 4 mana you tap it and investigate. So it's a mana artifact which can also draw you cards late game. So that's why it's really good. So that's why I won't put it in tier 2.
Yeah, I think it's really strong. At the beginning, when you don't have mana, it does that. Later on, when you don't have any cards, it does that too. So it gets you coming and going, which I think is really strong. Everything you want, yeah, at every stage of the game. I think that's really, really strong. Next card is Runaway Carriage for 4 mana. We get a 5/6 with Trample. Now you're thinking, oh my god, this is the deal of the century. But if this guy attacks or blocks, you gotta sacrifice it. So at the end of combat. So it will kill something, or it will do a bunch of damage. But the problem is, you're always losing this card. I'd rather just have something that sticks around So I would just put it aside.
Yeah, the next one is Murderous Axe. 4 mana, artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +2/+2, and its equip cost is discard a card. Yeah, 4 mana is already pretty expensive, and then you have discard a card to actually equip it. So that's way too steep for me, so put it aside.
Yeah, don't be tempted to think, but then with the madness cost, I can do madness multiple times. There's going to be plenty of ways to discard stuff. You don't have to do it this way, just for the paltry +2/+2. Then we have Epitaph Golem for 5 mana. It's a 3/5, and we established already 3/5 is pretty good in this set. It's going to be able to attack well, it's going to be able to block well. It also has the ability that for 2 mana, put target card from your graveyard at the bottom of your library. I'm not quite sure, I've seen all the mechanics, I'm not quite sure when you're going to be wanting to do this to your own graveyard, because actually if we want to deliver, we actually want stuff in our graveyard. The chance of putting it back into your library and then shuffling and then somehow being able to get that card again, I think are way too small, so just put it in as a filler. For 5 mana, a 3/5, that's okay, that's going to be fine as a filler, but don't try and get too much other value out of it. Those are the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares. For our first rare cards, we have an Allied Colored Cycle of Lands. Now these lands come in tapped and give us either one of 2 colors. However, if we reveal a basic land type, which corresponds to their colors, then they don't come in tapped. So that is super awesome. We're gonna see an example first. Fortified Village gives us either green or white, but it doesn't come in tapped if we show a forest or a plains. So that is pretty cool. Next one is Foreboding Ruins, gives us either black or red. Then we have Port Town, gives us either white or blue. Game Trail gives us either red or green. And Choked Estuary gives us either blue or black. So yeah, just put those in tier 2, same as the other ones. There's not much to think about there. Don't try and play a color because you have these.
Exactly. So the next one, Your Temple. It's a land that taps for colorless, and for 3 mana you can return it from the graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. It's not something it's really that relevant, and if you want to put it in your graveyard, you probably don't want to get it out because of the delirium. So that's why I want to put it aside. And actually this is the one card I actually want to put it in my hand instead of put it on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's true, and it doesn't even do that. How sad is that? Next card is the best of the lands, that is Westvale Abbey, and we can tap it to give us a colorless mana, but we can also pay 5, tap it, pay 1 life, and then put a 1/1 white and black human cleric token onto the battlefield. That's pretty awesome. Every turn for 5 mana we get a little guy. We also pay a little bit of life. But we can also pay 5 mana, tap it, and sacrifice 5 creatures. Then we get to transform Westvale Abbey and untap it. That's important. Why? Because it transforms into Ormondal Profane Prince. And try and say that fast 3 times. And it becomes a 9/7 legendary demon. It also has flying. It also has lifelink. It also has indestructible, and it also has haste. Now this is insanely powerful. This is pretty much the definition of a bomb, right? I mean, when it comes in, your land taps to be able to do this, but it untaps again for this, and of course it's got haste. You're always going to be able to attack with it, whether the land came in this turn or you had it already before. I think it's tier 1 because it doesn't matter what deck you're playing, doesn't matter what color, doesn't even what pre-release. I don't care what you're doing, you're popping this in and you're probably winning the game if it resolves. What do you think, Stefan?
Exactly what you said. It's just great. You can get creatures, and if you have enough creatures, you can sacrifice them to transform it.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be those 1/1 clerics that you have to sacrifice. You can just sacrifice any 5 creatures. So yeah, just go tokens, go anybody else. You can just sacrifice them to this land, and you're gonna be super happy because also it's just indestructible. And think about how few things are gonna be able to get rid of this thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter because of the lifelink. So 9 lives every turn.
Think if they would have just added trample. No, totally not necessary.
Like we've said before, you're too greedy.
I'm too greedy. I am like Ormondal Profane Prince. I'm just as greedy. Alright, well let's not discuss that one too much more, just add it. Next one is Corrupted Graphstone for 2 mana. It's an artifact, and when it enters the battlefield, it comes in tapped. But we get to tap it, choose a color of a card in your graveyard, and then add 1 mana of that mana to your color pool. So you may think, hey, that's awesome. For 2 mana, we get to tap, we get mana. you know what, it's not going to work because when it comes in tap. I would still be okay with that, but the fact is that you need to have a card in your graveyard of the corresponding color, and I just don't think on turn 2 that's even going to be possible to do that effectively, and you're going to be sad most of the time. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, it will probably activate way later, so it's not really that handy.
No.
Because when do you have the mana, you don't actually need it anymore.
No, that's true. You want this to start doing stuff on turn 3, but the odds of stuff being in there, your graveyard, I don't know. You can't really do it reliably. That's the problem. There's a chance that it'll work, but also a chance that it won't work. I just don't know if I want to run that risk.
Exactly. So the next one, Brain in a Jar. For 2 mana, it's an artifact. For 1 mana and tap it, put a charge counter on Brain in a Jar, then you may cast an instant or sorcery with the confirmed mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Brain in a Jar from your hand without paying its mana cost. So 3 spells. And the next one, 3 and a tap, remove X charge counters from Brain in a Jar, scry X. So you can put charge counters on it, then you can remove it, then you can put it on again to play things. I think it's just too narrow because you really need to have a lot of instant sorceries, and I don't think you have them in limited.
Yeah, agreed. I think in constructed it's going to be awesome, or in maybe commander decks which are focused on instant sorceries, but in limited it's going to be too difficult to get it to work.
Exactly. So put it aside.
Put that card aside, yeah. Then we have Slayer's Plate for 3 mana. It's an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+2. That is massive. And when equipped creature dies, if it was a human, we get to put down a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Its equip cost is 3. This is tier 1. You put it in anything, you pop this on a 1/1, doesn't have to be human, and then all of a sudden it is a 5/3 attacking with impunity. It doesn't matter if that thing dies, alright, then we throw it on the next creature, and we throw it on the next creature, and if that creature happens to be a human, then we've got a little flyer, and we'll throw it on that one. People are going to lose the game to this card. I think it's super strong, I think it's awesome, and I'd always play it.
So the next one, Invocation of Saint Twaft. It's a 1 white and blue, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets, whenever this creature attacks, put a 4/4 flying angel creature on the battlefield tapped and attacking. Exile the token at the end of combat. So it is what Saint Twaft did, Guys of Saint Twaft. You attack and you get a 4/4 attacking, which is really nice, but it's still an aura, but I think it like helps it that because it's a 4/4 you get into play. So I really like it.
Yeah. Risky, of course, 2 for 1.
Yeah.
We don't like auras normally, otherwise it would be higher. It has to be tier 2 because of the fact you throw this on a skull, you put this on a flyer, you're going to be able to get through. And actually, you don't even need to deal damage. The point is you just want that guy to survive so you can do it again and again, and it's the 4/4 that's going to be almost impossible to stop. Think about how early this could already be effective. You could play a 2/2. They didn't play a 2/2, for example, or maybe they got a 1/3 or something along those lines, and then you pop this on there, you attack on turn 3. Turn 3, you've got this creature attacking plus a 4/4 flyer. They can't stop that.
Exactly.
No
and it's
way.
really nice because you can enchant it and attack immediately.
Yeah.
Because the creature doesn't have summoning sequence anymore.
Yeah. So this is one of the few exceptions when it's this strong, the aura, you can say because you're going to get value out of it immediately. Next card, similar. Anguished Unmaking for 3 mana, one of which has to be a white, one of which has to be a black. We've got an instant. Exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. This is another card that you get value out of immediately. It doesn't matter what you want to get rid of. You can get rid of it. It costs you a paltry 3 mana and 3 life, which is fine. It's actually really, really strong, especially in a set where the removal is so weak. I am flabbergasted by this card. I'm playing white and black if I draw this card, tier 1.
So we have Fevered Visions. It's 1
I really do
blue
give
and
you
a
the crap cards, don't I?
You always give me the
I
crap
do give you
cards.
the crap cards. Yeah.
Sometimes I sneak one in that I can
And
get.
I change it in editing later. Yeah.
So yeah. So the next one, Fevered Visions. 1 blue and a red. Enchantment. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If the player's opponent and has 4 more cards in hand, Fevered Visions deal 2 damage to him or her. So you can draw cards. Everyone can draw cards.
Yeah, you get a card, you get a card. We don't want to be giving other people cards.
That's true. But if you give them enough cards, they'll die from it.
They may also shake your hand because you also gave them the win for the game. Probably.
So it deals damage and you get a handshake. What more do you want?
I want to not play this card and win the game instead. I would say just put this card aside.
Then let's put it aside then.
Let's put it aside. All right, next card is Prized Amalgam for 3 mana, one of which has to be blue and one of which has to be black. We get a 3/3 zombie, so already we established for 3 mana, 3/3, that's gravy, that's fine. And whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if it entered from your graveyard or was cast from your graveyard, then we get to pop this guy from the graveyard back into the battlefield, tapped at the beginning of the next end step. I think that's pretty cool. Blue and black do those kind of things. It is very much possible. However, even if you don't have a lot of that, even if you only have one instance of that even being possible, or even when none of those instances, if you are already in blue and black, a 3/3 for 3 is really good, really strong. I would say tier 2. If you're in those colors, auto included.
Yeah. So we have Altered Ego. X2, green and blue. It's a creature shapeshifter and a 0/0 and can be countered. But you may have Altered Ego enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, and it comes into play with an additional X +1/+1 counters on it, and that is equal to X. So it's 4 and you copy something, and for all the extra money you put into it, it gets bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I love this card. It is super powerful. It doesn't even matter if your opponent has the bomb, because you can also copy your own bomb. And if you don't, then you just copy whatever else is the best thing. And it doesn't matter if your opponent has that thing, because you can always pay extra mana, and then their best thing is your best thing, but your best thing is better than their best thing, because it's going to be bigger. So the fatties are fatter on your side with Altered Ego. And this is the kind of card that can easily win the game. So I love it.
Yeah, so tier 1. Actually want to look at the other cards because of this card.
Yeah, definitely makes me want to play blue-green.
Yeah.
Next card is Tamio's Journal for 5 mana. It's a legendary artifact. It states that at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to investigate, so you get to pop down one of those clue artifacts. And we also get to tap it and sacrifice 3 clues to search your library for a card and put that card into your hand and shuffle your library. I really like it. I think 5 mana is a little bit late in the game, but if you do get to 5 to the point where you can cast this and the board state is stalled, so you guys are just trading, you're waiting to be able to attack, then this gives you an extra card per turn compared to your opponent if you're willing to put in those 2 mana. And I think that is going to win you the game. However, if the game is a race and you're on turn 5 and you're racing each other, then this card is going to lose you the game, because it doesn't do anything when it comes in, and it's still going to take a little bit for you to get the most value out of it. That's why I'm a bit on the wall about it. I would say this one really depends on what kind of a deck you're building. If you're building a control edge deck, kind of a defensive deck, then it's definitely tier 1, tier 2. And if you are, you may not have so much defense, you're trying to be aggressive, then it's more tier 2, tier 3. Probably more tier 3.
Yeah, it's a really late game card, so you really want to actually get there.
Yeah.
So an aggressive deck wouldn't really want to play this.
No, exactly. So yeah, that's the thing, you have to be careful with it, but other than that, very powerful. Those are the rares. Let's have a look at the mythics.
So the first mythic is Olivia, Mobilized for War. 1 black red, it's legendary creature, Vampire Knight. A 3/3 flying, which is already really good. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on the creature, and the creature gains haste until end of turn. It also becomes a vampire. So that's like really nice, because if you play a bomb, you can discard a card, give it haste, pump it up, and attack with it immediately. You don't have to do it, so it's always a choice.
Yeah, and you can also pay madness cost if you want while you're doing that.
Exactly.
And it's just a 3/3 for 3 with flying. I mean, what more do you want?
Well, always more, remember?
Yeah, that's true, but this card delivers. Olivia Mobilized for War is definitely a tier 1. Not unlike Arlen Cord for 4 mana, which one has to be red and one has to be green. We get a Planeswalker, and this one comes in with 3 loyalty. Her +1 is until end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance and haste. That's quite a lot of stuff. You know, that could be a nice little surprise for your opponent. Or you could 0 it, and then you put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield, and we get to transform her. So she's gonna put down a little guy, which is gonna protect her, and then she's gonna transform into Arlen, Embraced by the Moon. Now her +1 is creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until the end of turn. Nice if you got a lot of smaller guys. Our -1 is Arlen Embraced by the Moon, deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and we get to transform her back to her human form. So we lightning bolt something, and then we transform her back to Arlen Cord. Or her -6, or her ultimate is you get an emblem with creatures you control have haste, and tap, this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. That's an awesome finisher right there. Mostly just, I think, how we're going to be using her is popping her down, zeroing ability, you get a 2/2 guy, turn her around. Of course, you can't use her abilities once again, because even though she transforms, you still already use her ability. But next turn, what you can do is you can lightning bolt something, you can kill something, and then transform her back and repeat the process every turn, killing something, getting a token, killing something, getting a token. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do. Stefan, what do you think about this Planeswalker?
You can do it every turn because it's -1.
Oh, you're right. It does end at some point. Yes, you're right.
But it's still really good.
3 times at least before you have to use that pesky +1 ability, which is also really good, really strong.
Oh, I have to +1 pump all my creatures.
Yeah, I think by the time she's dead from repeatedly doing that, you've probably won the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, super strong. Tier 1 forces me into red and green.
So next one, Nahiri the Harbinger. 2 red and a white. It's a Planeswalker, and +2 is you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And -2, exile target enchantment, tapped artifact or tapped creature. And -8, search your library for an artifact or creature card, put it into battlefield, then shuffle your library. It gains haste, and you return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Oh, and she comes into with 4 loyalty counters on the battlefield. So that's just really good. You can discard a card, draw a card, and you can destroy things. And if you ultimate her, you can just throw anything on the table.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I think the first thing you're going to want to do is either destroy that tapped creature, or maybe that enchantment or that artifact. I think that's probably going to be the first thing that's going to come in because they're not expecting it. Then you're just going to start plussing her to make sure you are rummaging, you're discarding and then drawing a card. And then later on, again, after when you've rummaged enough times and you've destroyed all the things you want to destroy, then you can just pop down that big thing. I mean, they are going to have to stop her, and the problem is they won't be able to, because she comes in and she's going to be destroying that tapped creature, which is probably going to be the thing that's most at risk for her to die. So super powerful as well with these Planeswalkers. I really like her too. Very strong, tier 1.
Yeah.
The Girtog monster is next for 5 mana, of which 1 has to be black and 1 green. We get a 6/6 Frog Horror. It's a legendary creature, so it can be used as a commander. Pretty cool. It has Death Touch, as if that wouldn't be enough. It also has Death Touch. It's already going to kill everything. And at the beginning of your upkeep, we get to sacrifice Girtog monster unless you sacrifice a land. So every turn you're going to have to sacrifice a land, otherwise this guy dies. But you may also play an additional land on each of your turns. And whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you get to draw a card. So that is for each land that goes into your graveyard. That is pretty sweet. That means essentially you're drawing a card every turn. And of course you've got a 6/6 Death Toucher for 5 mana. That is really, really strong. Tier 1 pushes me into black and green. And it's also awesome art that he's chomping on some guy's arm. Very cool. Actually, the rest of them is probably still in there.
Probably. And remember, if you're discarding something from your hand, it will also land in the graveyard, so it also nets your card.
Yeah. Also, when you're I was thinking about the madness, but I want to add madness to anything, everything. No. This is the one card that doesn't help you with the madness, but it should, because look how crazy this card looks.
So next one, Sigarda Heron's Grace. 3 green and a white. It's a legendary angel. It's a 4/5 with flying, and you and humans you control have hexproof. And for 2, you can exile a card from your graveyard and put a 1/1 white human soldier creature token onto the battlefield. So it is a 4/5 with flying for 5 mana. It's also really great. And then it pumps out hexproof creatures. What more do you want?
Yeah, I really like the fact that if later on in the game, let's say turn 5 you play this, and then turn 6, let's say you've got 3 cards in your graveyard, don't have to be creature, just any cards, then you can just pay the 6 mana and put down 3 1/1 guys with hexproof, as you said. that is going to be huge. That's going to be so strong. I really love this, and once again, yeah, forces me into white and green.
Exactly.
Then we have the last card, Sorin, Grim Nemesis, for 6 mana, of which 1 white and 1 black. We have a 6 loyalty Planeswalker. Sorin's +1 is reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to its converted mana cost. Okay, that should be a minus ability, I think. Isn't that insanely powerful? The fact that you're drawing cards and you're dealing damage. Normally these cards deal damage to you. But Sorin says, nah, you know what? Better you better take the damage. I'll just take the card. Sorin can also -X himself to deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life. So that's removal right there built in. It can do up to 5 points of damage and gain you 5 life on the turn that it comes in. I think that's really cool. I like how these planeswalkers have abilities to destroy things, to deal damage, to destroy tap things, or the enchantment, for example. That's really strong. Very good way to protect your planeswalkers against threats. And its ultimate -9, put a number of 1/1 black vampire knight creature tokens with lifelink onto the battlefield equal to the highest life total among all players. So this is really, really strong, because it doesn't matter how much life you're at. If you're anywhere near the 10 life or even 7, doesn't matter. That's still a ton of 1/1s with lifelink that you can swing at your opponent with. They're going to gain you life anyway, and they're going to have some really awkward blocking to do at that point in time. Plus, you've already been drawing a lot of cards and dealing them damage that way, so they can't be that high in life anyway.
And you're actually gaining life with the minus.
That is so strong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really strong. I mean, a +1 that nets your card and deals damage?
That is really sick. I don't think we really need to go into that much. Just if you see it, you play it. It's not that complicated. Just figure it out when you're playing your first turn. Just make sure you get the 6 mana, because that's a pretty hefty price tag on the sword to be able to cast it. But once you do, it'll win you the game. Well, those are the Mythics. Let's have a look at the conclusion. So Stefan, first of all, what do you think about the lands, the artifacts, and the multicolored cards?
Well, lands, they color fix. What more do you want? And artifacts aren't that great. I mean, a lot of tier 2, tier 3 and aside. So, the multicolored, well...
That's where the business at.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it is so strong. You point out a multicolored card that you don't want to include. I don't know which one they are, because they pretty much all force me into their respective colors. Even the uncommon ones are really good. I just think that this set is amazing. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's going to be great to draft. I think it's going to be great to play sealed games with. I think it's going to be great just to open packs and have a look at the awesome art. I don't know what I'm actually disappointed. Well, I'm disappointed a little bit in blue and in the removal of black. But when it comes to everything else, I think this set, flavor-wise, mechanics, interactions, weird interactions that you may not be expecting, that we're still going to see that are going to come. I think that this set is going to be able to provide all of that. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, when I looked at the spoilers, I'm really excited about just the flavor text. Just the name, the art, and the flavor text of the cards.
Yeah.
I have been really excited just about that. Not even the cards itself.
Can you imagine? And then the joy of playing with these cards, seeing them in action, coming to life as you battle your opponents. I think this set is going to bring a lot of fun to the table, and I can't wait to get started. So I think that we should actually get started, because the pre-release is actually about to start very soon. So we're also going to ask you guys to subscribe right now, because it lets us know that we should probably make more of these videos. If you don't subscribe, well, then we probably won't do it for the next set. So please press that subscribe button, like it, comment, let us know. You can also let us know via social media, so via Facebook or Twitter. You can just send us a message there, let us know that you watched these videos, what you thought, disagreed. After all, we also haven't played with the set yet, so we are going to be wrong about a couple of things. Just let us know if it at least helped you a little bit, or whether we're dead wrong and we should stop doing this immediately. Also, just let us know. After the jump, you can see all the other videos that we've done regarding Shadows over Innistrad, so just check those out as well if you haven't. I guess that's it. So thanks for watching. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.